أعزائي طلبة المرحلة الأولى، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اليوم محاضرتنا عن Anatomy of the Region of the Ankle، منطقة الكاحل. First, region of the ankle. Why we study the region of the ankle? From the clinical standpoint, the ankle is a common site for، يعني من الأهمية السريرية لهذه المنطقة ندرس الاناتومي of the ankle region. Why? Because it is a common site، منطقة معرضة للفراكتشرز مثل ما قاعد نشوف بهاي الصورة، الكسور، ومعرضة للسبرين، ومعرضة للديسلوكيشن. يعني لأهمية هذه المنطقة السريرية، لذلك دراسة الاناتومي of this region اللي هي الانكل region it is important. Why? Because it is a common site for fractures، كسور، sprains، الأذى، والديسلوكيشن اللي هو الخلع. First, we will study this region from anterior and posterior. First, what are the structures that anterior to the extensor reticula؟ يعني structures اللي راح تكون سطحية that pass anterior to the extensor reticula. مثل ما تعرفون reticula this is a thickening of deep fascia، هذا هو extensor reticulum that pass in between the tibia and fibula. There are structures superficial from this structure if we said from medial to lateral, these are the great saphenous vein with the saphenous nerve, with the superficial peroneal nerve، هذا هو superficial peroneal nerve اللي هو cutaneous nerve that divide into medial and lateral branches. So these are the structure that lies anterior or superficial to the extensor reticulum from medial to lateral. Great saphenous vein, saphenous nerve, the medial and lateral branches of superficial peroneal nerve. طبعا هنا عندي the great saphenous vein with the saphenous nerve they will pass in front of the medial malleolus. But another group of structure, another set of structure that pass beneath or through the extensor reticulum، يعني راح الاستراكشرات اللي راح تكون عميقة أو تمر تحت الإكستنسر reticulum اللي هو هذا عندنا superior extensor reticulum، عندنا inferior extensor reticulum اللي هو قلنا شكله يشبه Y shape. It is a Y shape reticulum. Both of them are extensor reticulum. These structure from medial to lateral. These are the medial manual, from medial to lateral. First, the tibialis anterior tendon. Next, the extensor hallucis longus. This tendon will pass to the big toe. Next, we will have the anterior tibial artery. Next, we have the deep peroneal nerve, and then we have this tendon, which is the tendon of extensor digitorum longus. The slip of this muscle, the tendon will pass to the lateral four fingers. And lastly, we have the tendon of peroneus tertius muscle, which is regarded as a part of extensor digitorum longus. So in this figure we can see the structure that pass beneath or through the extensor reticulum from medial to lateral. These are the superior extensor reticulum, and this one is the inferior extensor reticulum اللي هو قلنا شكله Y shape. تترتب structure from medial to lateral. عندي tibialis anterior. Next the extensor hallucis longus اللي راح تروح للبيك toe. Next we have the anterior tibial artery with the deep peroneal nerve. Next we have the tendon of extensor digitorum longus, and lastly we have the tendon of peroneus tertius. الفائدة من هذه الريتانكولم it will hold the tendon, artery and nerve in position. راح تخلينا موقعها during the function of the ankle joint، عند حركة الأنكل joint. Next, we have the structure that pass behind the lateral malleolus. This is the lateral malleolus of the fibula. it pass superficial to the superior peroneal reticulum. هاي الستركشر اللي هي pass superficial to the superior peroneal reticulum مثل ما قاعد نشوف بهاي الصورة هي small saphenous vein with the sural nerve. Small saphenous vein with the sural nerve, they will pass superficial to the superior peroneal reticulum behind the lateral malleolus of the fibula. Another structure that pass behind, this is the lateral malleolus, structure that pass behind the lateral malleolus beneath the superior peroneal reticulum. These are the tendon of peroneus longus and the tendon of peroneus brevis muscle. نشوف انه tendon of peroneus brevis muscle will pass to the base of the fifth metatarsal bone, بينما tendon of peroneus longus will pass deep to the sole of the foot. At first, both of them they have a common synovial sheath. After that, when they pass below the superior peroneal reticulum, each one will have its own synovial sheath. راح يكون إلى الغلاف الخاص به. Another structure that lie directly behind the ankle joint, this is the ankle joint. Behind it is the what we call the tendocalcaneus or Achilles tendon. Now we come to study the flexor reticulum. Flexor reticulum, this is in green color. It is a thickening of deep fascia that pass from the medial malleolus of the tibia down to the medial surface of the calcaneum. Also the same function, it will hold the tendons, artery and vein in position during movement of the joint. These structure they are arranged from medial to lateral. عندي موجود عندنا هذا tendon of tibialis posterior. Next we have the tendon of flexor digitorum longus, posterior tibial artery, posterior tibial nerve, and lastly we have the tendon of flexor hallucis longus. إذا نشوفها بهذه الصورة هذا هو الفلexor reticulum passing from medial malleolus to the medial surface of calcaneum, holding the tendons and structure in position. وهذه هي الستركشر اللي هي أول واحدة راح تكون immediately behind the lateral malleolus is the tibialis posterior. Next they have the tendon of flexor digitorum longus, posterior tibial artery, tibial nerve, and lastly we have the tendon of flexor hallucis longus. هذه نشوف structure without we are removing the flexor reticulum, and these are the structure that passing below or deep to the flexor reticulum اللي هي هذه tendon of tibialis posterior, tendon of flexor digitorum longus, and the posterior tibial artery, and lastly the tendon of flexor hallucis longus. نشوف أنه tibial artery is in between the tendon of flexor digitorum longus in front and the tendon of flexor hallucis longus behind. This artery is important. We can feel the pulse of this posterior tibial artery. We can feel the pulse of the posterior tibial artery in this region, in the region of the flexor reticulum. قاعد نشوف هنا يعني we can feel the pulse of this artery in between the midway between the heel, المنطقة اللي نسميها الهيل, and the medial malleolus. الهيل يعني هي منطقة tip of the calcaneum or calcaneus, and the medial malleolus. Midway in between them يعني منتصف المسافة we will feel the pulse of posterior tibial artery. Midway between the heel and the medial malleolus. Posterior tibial artery. Thank you.